This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its...
Start streaming again. Oh, this is... I give up. Ah, boy. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Okay, anyway, we'll just stop recording it. Okay, and then we will go back to this, okay, there, and then I will do this. Oh, what do you know? Ah, boy. Stop recording. Okay, all right. We're going to get this right eventually, okay? Here we go. And then...
This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 8th year of talk like you've never heard it before.
Let's see if we can get it right here. Hi, it's the Ramble. I'm Alex. Oh man, Eshevitz. Yeah, okay, and let's see Bubbles. There he is, and now let's go talk to Bubbles. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we like to check in with Larry Bubbles Brown because he's so smart.
Yes. I have a room temperature IQ, yes.
Yes, a room temperature IQ. I never heard that one before.
Hey, really? Yeah, that's an old one, yeah.
Really? Room temperature
IQ.
You're amazing.
Well, who's the smartest person you've ever interviewed?
The smartest? I could have told you that when I was smarter. I'm trying to remember the smartest person I've ever interviewed. God, I could have told you that a few years ago, but I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
I've interviewed some people that amazed me as to how bright they were.
Probably most people from entertainment, not that bright.
Not that bright, but not that stupid either. I mean, I guess I didn't seek out personalities who I knew would be stupid. All right? There are people who will interview anybody. And then there was me, and I would sometimes turn people down because I figured they were just too dumb, or they didn't have a lot to say, or they were plugging a movie, and that was all that was on their agenda,
Yeah. Or people that didn't have a personality.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who. I know there were a couple that I went, gee, he's bright, or she's bright. But I can't remember who they were now. People that you would thought were maybe a little dumb. I'll tell you people that I've interviewed that I thought would be smarter.
That'd be good, yeah.
The main one I remember is John Lennon. You think he would be really bright and really smart and really up on things, right? But no, he was really a savant. I mean, what he did wonderfully. But that didn't necessarily make him bright. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Interesting.
So that doesn't make people bright just because they can write a good song. Doesn't mean they're smart. So, I have certain, but I'm trying to think. That's a very good question you ask.
Well, I thought you interviewed. She was very neurotic, which usually indicates intelligence. I thought Camille Paglia was kind of intelligent.
She was very, very intelligent. Very intelligent, and she and I got along. That was
yeah.
Yeah, that was the strange part about it. You would think the two of us would not have gotten along. Most people, now that I mentioned, what's her name again? Camille
Paglia.
You mentioned Camille Paglia. That not many people remember who she was.
She's kind of I can't remember. You interviewed her in October of '92.
How do you remember these things?
I do remember. I don't know why I remember. It was right. I think it was right before the election.
Yeah.
That's why. And she was. She came in, was freaked out by the studio audience, so you had to take her into a small studio.
I had to take her into another studio and do the interview there because she didn't want to talk in front of an audience. Yeah.
Right.
I think she was paranoid about things.
She was, yeah.
Because everybody was out to get her, all right? And I wasn't. I just wanted to interview her. And we had a very nice conversation. Mm-hmm. But I can't remember, was she right or left? I can't remember. Or was she
was a feminist, but she had some, she leaned to the right on certain issues, so some of the feminists hated her.
I see. That was it. Yeah. I tried to remember why she was disliked, you know.
Yeah, she was pretty controversial at the time.
Yeah. She was, but she was bright. But I'm trying to, you talk about people who are bright, and you didn't, especially when you didn't expect them to be. And there are a couple of people that I used to say, boy, he's bright. He's really bright, really smart. Emo Phillips was very smart.
Yeah.
Right winger, if I remember correctly.
Was he?
Yeah. We would at parties, we'd sit in the back of the room discussing politics together. Not something you would expect out of Emo Phillips.
No.
And he wasn't doing the voice. He was just doing it. I'm trying to. Boy, that's a great question, and my mind lately is so bad that
what about Penn?
Penn Jillette? Penn Jillette's bright. Penn's smart. I think he thinks he's smarter than he is. Okay, but he's quite bright, and I enjoy Penn. I'll tell you who was intelligent and who I really liked a lot is Teller. Teller's very, very smart and very bright and knows about everything. Okay?
Wow.
Penn is a little more, he has a few things he really is interested in, and that's it,
Okay, well, Norm Macdonald used to say, if you want to be the smartest guy in the room, act like the dumbest guy.
Yeah, God, that's a great question, and you threw it on me. If you'd thrown it on me a couple of days ago and said, we'll talk about this, I might have done some thinking. But it used to be that I forget all the people I've really interviewed, You
should make a list.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who. Well, you were one of the brightest I've ever interviewed.
Oh,
how's that?
Not Mr. Room Temperature IQ, me.
But you don't think you're smart, do you?
I think I'm like. I think I have gaps of certain areas of like technology and things like that where I literally feel like I'm retarded.
But that has nothing to do with being smart. Being intelligent. You're intelligent. There's no question about it. I wouldn't be talking to you right now if you weren't. Or maybe I'm just taking sympathy on you. I'm taking.
Yes, that could be.
Yeah. But anyway, so
I think good comics tend to be smart, don't you think? Because you have to be kind of quick and sharp and.
Well, yeah. God, it depends on the comic. Like, when you're going to talk about bright, you're talking about people who are very aware of the world around them and have a lot of information stored in their heads, and that's smart, Like, mm-hmm. I love Bobby Slayton, but I wouldn't say Bobby Slayton is smart, No, I don't know if I could talk about a lot of things with him, okay? But he is one of the most brilliant comics alive.
Yeah.
So just because somebody's good at something doesn't make them smart. They are good at that. All right.
I would bet Woody Allen is very smart.
I would say so. I've never met him, but it would seem to. Although something, I got to tell you. Does being smart hurt a comedian? You know, does it kind of limit him in a way? I mean, I found with actors, I think one of the brightest actors around, I never interviewed him, supposedly was Robert Vaughn. Robert Vaughn was the man from Uncle. He wrote a book, for instance, on the blacklisting back in the 50s.
I think he's fairly political, yeah.
Very bright, but never had that great a career. You know what I'm saying? In other words, he was very bright, but that didn't translate into success in acting. If anything, sometimes it comes between you and acting.
I would think, like, if an audience senses you're smarter than they are, they're not going to like you.
Right. They're not going to like you. Also, the intelligence has, I don't know, I don't know how to state this so that it makes any sense at all. But then again, I don't make any sense at all anyway these days. So.
We're not supposed to at our age.
Boy, I'm telling you, lately it's just been terrible. I'm lightheaded and things like that. And I've been doing my positional vertigo exercises yesterday. I did them yesterday, and I feel a little better today. But, man, I'm telling you, I mean, like you asked me a question like that, there was a time when I would have answered that question in a second because I had an answer. You know, but I mean, I was amazed at a lot of people at how bright they were, you know. But for instance, well, maybe I shouldn't ask you this because you don't want to hurt your reputation, but who's the stupidest person you've ever met up with?
Oh, there's been so many. I don't think I can single one out.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, I used to have somebody about, you know, this person is really stupid. I mean, everybody is amazed when I tell them that John Lennon wasn't that bright, you know. Or to meet him, you would think he was stupid, okay?
I would have thought he'd have been very political and...
No, he was very, you know, when we would meet up at a party, I would start talking with Yoko because he had nothing to say. You know,
wow.
Because Yoko was, very bright. Yoko is the most misunderstood woman in history, okay? And that includes Marie Antoinette. You know, she was terrific. I enjoyed talking with her. I'll tell you, Gilbert Gottfried. Gilbert Gottfried, very bright. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze.
Yeah.
Just keep talking. I have to sneeze.
Okay. I'll talk through this sneeze. Gilbert was brilliant, yes.
Gilbert was very bright. I mean, I would sit for hours talking with him about stuff, you know.
I mean, but I've never seen him have a normal conversation. You had one with him?
Oh, yes, constantly. Every Christmas, we'd go to this party together, and we'd go off in the corner and start talking.
Wow.
You know, and just about stuff. Yeah, so I love Gilbert too. He was just a terrific guy, you know.
Was he a happy guy?
I think so. I think he was much happier once he met Dara and then had a kid. You know, how many kids did he have? Did he have one or two? I can't remember.
He married late in life.
Yes, he married very late in life and became a father late in life. And I could only imagine, people would say, well, what would Gilbert be like as a father? I think he was terrific. You know, I mean, if I were a kid, I would just adore Gilbert because he was as childish as I was, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But he was quite bright, you know. But I'm trying to remember any comedians that I really felt were exceedingly bright. You know, a lot of them are bright because their humor is bright.
Yeah,
you know, I would imagine
Proops?
Very bright. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Proops was Greg Proops is bright. I'm trying to think who else I really thought was, you know, really smart, and I can't remember now. See, you don't ask me on a
Tuesday.
We'll
probably have the answer by next week.
I'll probably have an answer right after we stop talking today.
Or write it down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to go back and think about it, because there were certain people that I went, boy, he's bright. Boy, he's smart. I always thought that Nemo was smart because his humor was so, what can I call it, abstract.
Oblique.
Oblique, that was the other word I was looking for. It was so oblique that he had to have a real intelligence there. I mean, I think I've mentioned to you the one joke that always laid me low because it was so smart was his line about, I went to the beach and it said, no glass allowed. And he said the reason is probably that sand is jealous of glass because it's on a lower evolutionary level.
Wow.
Now, I don't know how many people in the audience got that joke, and I don't know if I said it exactly the way he told it. But we all know that where does glass come from? It comes from sand. And so sand would be on a lower evolutionary level than glass. And he took that all from a sign that said no glass allowed on beach or something like that.
That's amazing.
So I mean that's when I heard that joke I went, this man is not stupid. And he just told a joke that maybe no one else in the audience got. So I mean it very strange, but let me see. I'm trying to think of other people. We were around all the time. Who was the brightest San Francisco comic?
Steve Pearl was pretty.
Steve Pearl, sharp. Yes, Pearl, very, very smart.
Robin.
Robin.
Very, very well read. I knew that.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, you see, I didn't know Robin that well. You knew him better than I did.
Yeah, he was always on, so you wouldn't often have a normal conversation with him.
Well,
but he a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, the reason why I didn't spend that much time talking with Robin or having a relationship with Robin is he hated me. Because I
don't think he hated you.
Well, he hated me because I called him on theft of jokes. See, I always felt that, if you're Robin Williams and you're a big star, and you go on the Tonight Show, and then you do a Larry Bubbles Brown joke, Larry Bubbles Brown can never tell that joke again because they will say, oh, you stole that from Robin.
Yeah.
And Robin really was notorious for stealing like crazy. Let's say adapting. Okay.
But and if you called him on it, he would always he'd actually give you money and. I think his brain was like a blender, just pick things up and spit it out.
Yeah, his wife was always there with a checkbook in case a comedian...
That's what I heard.
Well, there was one comedian, I'm trying to remember his name now, who at the comedy store literally threw Robin up against the wall and says, don't ever steal another joke from me, and his wife is next to him trying to write a check out. Tim Thomerson.
Wow.
It was Tim Thomerson.
Tim Thomerson.
Yeah. And she was writing a check out. He says, I don't want your lousy money. Just don't steal my jokes. And I think it was something, it wasn't that he was a thief. It wasn't that. He just absorbed stuff around him and wasn't aware of what he had absorbed.
Yeah, I think that's really true. I don't think he was a conscious thief.
He was, somebody told me once they were in a car with Robin. And they said something funny to Robin, and then about 2 minutes later, Robin turns around and looks at the guy and repeats the joke as though it's his own.
Slayton said that.
Yeah. There was something going on there where he was absorbing stuff around him, but he didn't know what he was absorbing.
Yeah,
I think that was it. So I called him on that because and he one time said to me, why are you mad at me about that? And I said, because, these comics work so hard to just get one joke and to have it used by you on the Tonight Show. I mean, I remember once we were in the back room of the Cobb's, the original Cobb's Comedy Club, and there were about 10 comedians. We were all watching Robin on the Tonight Show. And as he's talking to Johnny, one comedian after another would go, "That's my joke. That's my joke. That's my joke." You know, and it got to a point where if Robin walked into a room where you were working, a lot of comedians would just get off stage because they didn't want him stealing their material. I mean, it was that bad.
He got to the point where he wouldn't go in while other comics were on.
Yeah. I mean, he was aware of the problem.
He was aware,
and it was not out of any, if he did it out of a certain sense of, oh, well, I'm Robin Williams, I can steal anything I want to. No, that wasn't it. It was a defect in his personality or whatever. I mean, he just didn't listen to the world around him, but he absorbed it. It was very strange. Very strange.
Yeah.
And it wasn't evil. He didn't do it for any... I'm sure he probably stole a joke from you, and he never did it out of any spite because he liked you. You know? So, I mean, it was very strange. And I think he knew this was a problem he had, and he did stay away from the clubs after a while. Warren Thomas once said to me that he was at the... What was the comedy club out in the Haight-Ashbury? The
Other Cafe.
The Other Cafe. And he said Robin walked. He was doing his act, and all of a sudden from the back of the room he could hear that familiar Robin laugh, and he just thought to himself, "Well, that one's going to get stolen," and it was. I mean, and it wasn't evil. It wasn't anything. I'm not trying to put down Robin or say he wasn't one of the greatest improvisational comics alive. I don't want to denigrate his memory in that respect. But everybody knew he was a thief, and so I called him on it, and I don't know. I often felt he didn't like me because of that. He only did my show once, okay, and he lived in the neighborhood. Okay.
Really?
So, but what do you? Does it bother you when a comic steals a joke from you?
Used to a lot. Now I just figure people do it, and there's not really nothing you can do about it. So,
I did a bit on radio that here in New York that I was famous for. It was called Quickies. And what it was is that people would call up the show, and then I would just go Quickies, and they would have to do a one-liner. They couldn't use up more than 10 seconds. Okay? And they go to the next caller, Quickies, and they were, some of them were very funny. They were just little one-liner lines or whatever, just like, Quickies, and then somebody goes, I'm with him, and then you go to Quickies, and it was very popular, okay? Well, what I found was that people started stealing it, to do on their radio shows, only they called them something different. A guy by the name of Alan Combs here in New York, who was a dear friend, and I loved him dearly before he died, he stole it. And he said, I hope you didn't mind that I took it from you. He renamed it something else. And I said, nah, good. It's a compliment to have you steal something from me,
Yeah.
But at least he was. But a lot of other people stole it. Sean Hannity stole it, and did it on his show under with a different name. Okay, his radio show. And so I often got bothered by that, so I just stopped doing it. I don't think you ever heard me do it in San Francisco.
No.
I just stopped doing it. People went, why don't you do Quickies? Why don't you do I go, I'm through with that. I leave that behind because everybody else was doing it. And if I started doing it, people would say, oh, you stole that from Sean Hannity. You stole that from Alan Combs.
Yeah.
And finally, when I got back to New York, I decided, oh, to hell with it. Why give up a good thing simply because I don't want to be thought of as a thief of somebody else's material, And so I started doing it again, and sure enough, I got a call once, and Alan Combs does that. And I went, yeah, I know Alan Combs does that, but I did it way before he ever did it, So, I mean, and I got very defensive. I would, if I found that somebody stole something that I was doing, I would stop doing it. because I just didn't want anybody to get credit for, my material. It was strange. I just never was bothered by it. I was bothered by it, but not enough to get mad at the person. So.
Yeah, I think the entertainment has a history of things being stolen.
Well, yeah, but the trouble is that if you're Robin Williams, you steal a joke. It's, something that Larry Bubbles Brown does. All of a sudden, everywhere you go, oh, I heard Robin do that on The Tonight Show. That's his. That's not yours.
Yeah.
Where do you think he got it, pal? So that's what I told Robin I was always bothered by, I had people get mad at me. Well, we can get into this some other time. Get mad at me who were very famous, and only because I called them on something. John Lennon was one of them, because I called him on something where he was going to give a group some money, and he just never got the money to them. And I finally said to him, I said, nobody says you have to give your money away to anybody. I said, but if you then promise it, they're depending upon it, and you should give it to them, And so the next day, the people I was talking to him about got a check, So, I think John kind of liked me, but, Yoko liked me better. Anyway, hey, I got.
She might have been a better interview.
She was a better interview. Absolutely a better interview. Anyway, it's time to go, my dear friend.
Time's flowing again.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Larry Bubbles Brown. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Alex.
This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 8th year of talk like you've never heard it before.
Yes, thank you very much, Larry. We will talk to you again next week, I guess. There is a next week. We never know. I could drop dead tomorrow. I look healthy. I don't know. I don't know. I'm so preoccupied lately with death that I love talking to Larry because we get into talking about death. He that's one of his favorite topics, yeah. We're two very dark people. Anyway. How are you? It took last night off because Thursday nights nobody calls anyway. And nobody listens, so why not just dump Thursday? But then I got to find some place to put my good friend Steve Kravitz, so maybe I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I got to make some changes in this show. Anyway, I got to perk it up somehow, And I don't know if I'm wondering if I have the strength anymore to do it. That's the strange part about it, It's getting old. It really sucks. Just sucks. Tonight I was eating dinner, and I literally accidentally, I went to take some, it was salmon and a little bit of rice with it on one forkful, and it all fell on the floor because my hand was shaking. And I just got so mad that I just got up from the table and I just walked out of dinner and left Marjorie there. And we were in a restaurant, it was here. But I just, I'm tired of getting old, and it really bothers me because I don't mind being old. I don't mind the age. I just mind the fact that I'm just listening to myself with Larry, and I think my voice is kind of starting to get old, and that's the stuff that bothers me. The fact that, I'm eating and all of a sudden my hand starts shaking and the food falls on the floor, come on, that's age, but that's not the fun part of aging. The fun part of aging is people give you a seat on the subway. No, they don't actually. They used to, but they don't anymore. So, what the hell? Anyway, before we go to our panel, what there is of it tonight, well, I'll tell the story while they're on. I don't want to hold them up, okay? Because they're a bunch of very nice people, Charlie Wallace is here, and Jeff is here, and let's see here, Josh is here, Charlie, Kevin, and Jeff. You had some audio going through there for a while. Yep. But it's okay now. It's fine now. I screwed up the opening tonight too, if you noticed. That happens too, and then I have to start all over again because I don't want to have not a complete show. It's strange. What happened was I pushed a button here, and the button made something else come up. It isn't even next to a button that I pushed. I went to push this. Okay.
This is Gabnet, the
All
Great
right.
American Broadcast Network.
I went to push that. Okay, and then what I got was this. Or this, I don't know, one of these here. I can't remember which one. No, it was this one. I don't know why that came up. It's not. Well, it is. No, it's not right under that one. I don't know. I can't figure it out. Anyway, so that's some of the things that happened to me that are not fun. But what the hell? What can I say? So did you all have a good night off last night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Why not?
I'm glad. And then today I go on about 3 hours ago. And I look at my Facebook page, and I still got the note up from last night that says no Ramble tonight. So there are probably people who are just not even going to watch the show because they don't think there's a Ramble tonight. So, look, I mean, Alan isn't here, so he must not think there's a, which is actually, everybody talk fast before he gets here. Okay. Anyway. So what was I going to say? Oh, the story I was going to tell, I've told this story before, but, when somebody dies, you got to tell the only story you've got about that guy, right? And yesterday, TMZ reported that Jerry Lee Lewis had died. And then they had to retract it because Jerry Lee Lewis hadn't died.
Oh.
All right? So I'm laughing, ha, 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 these guys, what dopes they are, right? But then today, he died. So, he was, 87, I think? 87 years old?
Yep.
Yeah. And I only had a relationship with Jerry Lee Lewis for, one night of my life. What happened was, I was right out of my teens. I think I was maybe 19. No, I wasn't even out of my teens yet. But I and another guy decided we pulled some money together, and we decided we would have a concert. Or they used to call them dances in those days because they didn't have seating. They had like an open ballroom floor, and then people could dance if they wanted to and so on and watch the act on stage. And the act we hired was Jerry Lee Lewis. And he came, and I think we sold the place out, if I remember correctly. I didn't lose money. I always remember when I lose money. But the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me in my life happened that night because Jerry Lee was there, and so was his band. And I'm backstage. I'm waiting to kind of go on, get the show started, and so on and so forth. And they're setting up all the equipment. And standing next to me is Jerry Lee's, I think, guitarist. I think he was a guitarist. And I said to him, we got to talking, how is life on the road? Life on the road's crap, every night it's a different town, whatever. I said, well, I hope this will be a respite for you here. And he was very pleasant talking. And I finally said to him, I said, by the way, is it true that Jerry Lee married his 13-year-old cousin? And he looked at me and said, yeah, that's my daughter. The most embarrassing moment of my life, I got to tell you. I can't think of one that tops that.
What'd you say next?
Nice to meet you. See you later. I got as far away from him. I got as far away from him and his arm as I possibly could.
Let me remove my foot from my mouth.
Yes. I might have said something like, "Well, she's a very nice girl." I mean, But that was my only run-in ever with Jerry Lee Lewis, the killer, as they call him. Several of his wives died, and a lot of people always suspected him. Okay, so
He did have that aura about him.
he did have that aura about him, exactly. So anyway, I've been short of breath, and I just started coughing here. Oh, that's nice. No, but I think maybe I have a little long haul COVID is what I think I've got. I just have all the symptoms of the long haul, you know, and they're all mild, nothing terrible, but God, sucks. Anyway, doesn't it, Jeff?
Don't get older at all, and you'll be okay.
Yeah. Every now and then I thought it'd be nice if I could just stick my heels in the ground and slow it all down, you know. But there's no way of avoiding it, you know. I mean, that's life, you know. I suppose if I have a fear of death, I shouldn't, because at least I had the gift of life for this long, and what would have been better, not to have to face death by not being born, you know. So, yeah.
That's it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, that's easy for you to say. You're not as close to it as I am.
Yeah, well.
You know, I mean, who knows how much longer I've got? I could live to be 100 for all I know. But if I'm in this shape, I don't want to, you know. So, anyway, I don't know. So we took Thursday off, but we might not do it next week. I don't know. I haven't decided. So, but it was fun. There's very few people here tonight. See, they probably saw the thing online that said I wasn't doing a show tonight, and that was it. So,
yeah, if they could read it, it says 15 hours ago.
Yeah, but who reads that?
I do.
You do.
All my Facebook crap comes so late that you have to read it nowadays. Yeah. I mean, my Facebook, the shit, some of it comes a day late. I've already read some of the stuff, and all of a sudden it pops up and says, okay, here's your stuff for today. Well, shit, I've already read it. You know, or my notifications come up, and I'm reading my notifications, and half of them I've already read already.
Wow. You know what
the algorithms on Facebook are all fucked up.
Yes.
They're just totally jacked up.
Oh, I'll tell you, I just don't get any of it. Okay, I don't think
I don't understand it at all.
I don't think the numbers I get are right or anything like that.
No, I mean, you look at it, and I'll read through the day, or I'll flip through it. Sometimes I don't go in there for a couple of days, right?
Yeah.
Then I go in there, and my notifications will be all backed up, but I just scroll through my news feed, and I say, okay, I read that, and then I go into my notifications. I don't see nothing that I read, and then I go out of it, and I go back in there a couple hours later, and all of a sudden there's these notifications, all the shit that I already read and everything else, and I'm going, what the hell? You know, it's all backwards.
Well, they have something new in Apple. Do you know about this? I just got their newest Ventura, which is their new operating system. And,
really?
And I never usually first day go with the new operating system with them, because it's always fucked, you know. But I decided, well, you know, I've got a couple of other ones that I don't care about. One of which is in the guest room. So if it gets screwed up, who cares? I can fix it. Okay. So I upgraded it, and boom, everything works perfectly. So I did my thing we do we have a server over here for the show that goes out to the 24/7 feed. And I upgraded that machine, working perfectly. I haven't done this one yet, though. I'm going to do it over the weekend, because I know that if I did it today, it would be screwing up, and I wouldn't be able to do a show tonight. You know, I just know it, okay? So I'm not going to do it till this weekend. But the new operating system has a mail thing in the mail client where when you send a letter, if you suddenly go, whoops, I shouldn't have sent that, you can bring it back.
Oh.
You've got 30 seconds.
Oh, shit.
I think you can set it up so that it will do it. It will set it for maybe 2 minutes or something like that. But you basically got 30 seconds. But at least you've got it. You've got to send it. Why did I say that? Boom, you know.
Does Outlook still do that?
Did Outlook do that?
I think it did way back in the beginning. You used to be able to pull back
It still does, but you have to request it, and
Yeah.
you can only pull back from people who haven't already read it. I mean, if they've already
Right,
read it,
right.
it won't let you, but it will let you if they haven't read it.
Yeah, that was it. Because I remember, at work, I'd send out an email, go, shit, I didn't want to put that in there. I'd pull it back, and some people, too late, you already read it, That's right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just, I think I could probably use something like that, but I'd like it to be able to. You can also set it so that, let's say I'm going to send you an email, but I don't want you to get it till 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, yeah.
I can set it so that it will send it at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
So but if Outlook has had this all along, why the hell are they making such a big deal out of it? Gee, we finally started doing something else somebody's been doing for the last 10 years?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that about Outlook. I mean, I have Outlook.
Yeah, what was Outlook called in the beginning? Was it always Outlook?
Well, it became part of the Office, Microsoft Office package.
Yeah, way in the beginning, I didn't know if it was called Outlook or something.
I mean,
Might have been called.
They all have their stupidity and their I don't know who comes up with all that. Like with Outlook, for example, you can't, if someone sends an email to you or multiple people with an attachment, you can't reply all and keep the attachment. You can't reply all with attachment. It always takes it off.
Right.
So if you wanted to keep it attached, you have to forward it, or you would have to open the attachment, save it, and then reattach.
Yeah, but why would you want to
document.
resend the attachment? Because like I did it today. You send it with an attachment. They get the attachment, and then if you do reply all, it shouldn't send it because it's just redundant to what they already have in their
Well, but
mail
here's
stream,
the problem is, someone sends out an email with an attachment to 3 people or 4 people,
mm-hmm.
and you read it and you say, yeah, but these other 2 people need to know that. They need to be added to this original chain. We don't need to start a whole new one, or it'll get lost.
Yeah, but
they
it shouldn't be
included.
But you get what I'm
they
saying?
should have included the plant engineer and the quality manager on here, and they didn't. Or you need to, or they send it to me, but it really needs to go to one of the people who works for me, because this is really what they deal with on the day-to-day. It's not me. I need to add them, but they need to see it, but so do all the original people.
Did you ever fuck up by getting an email, right? And it had a whole list of people that it was made out to, and you just wanted to reply to the main person. So you replied to the main person, but you hit reply all. And maybe it was something not particularly flattering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I never have. I'm sure people do it, but I'm just saying, but if you go to Microsoft's website and you search for why does it take the attachment off, their answer is, well, when Outlook was designed for this, we assumed that people would not be passing the same attachment back and forth, that they would always open it up and make edits, and then they would save a new version and then reattach that. And I'm thinking, yeah, that sounds fine if you're writing a book. We're not writing a book here. I'm trying to get this attachment to I mean, it's just, everyone hates it. It's in the business world, it's stupid, but
you always have to forward it and attach everybody onto it.
Yeah, but right. You got to start a whole new chain or something. It's fucking stupid.
Wow.
I mean, the people who come up with that stuff, they don't use it themselves a lot or whatever. I mean, so they don't think about that kind of stuff. I mean, or something. I don't know. I mean, but when we had the but why do they have to do that? I mean, the email that we had before that was Lotus Notes, and when there was an email with an attachment and you hit reply, when you hit the drop down under the reply, you could reply to all, just reply, reply with attachment, or reply without attachment. All you had to do was select reply with attachment, and you could do whatever you want with it in the original state.
Now that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
This thing.
Now, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. Let's say you're trying to buy something. Someone sends you an attachment with your quotation. you need to reply back to them, and you want to give them their PO, but you also want to include the quote.
I'm getting confused here.
And the PO.
I'm getting a headache.
Yes, exactly. The fucking Outlook does give you a headache. It's fucking ridiculous.
Well,
so if you want to do that, you have to open it up, save it, and reattach. I mean, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, well,
and try to do all that from your fucking phone and not your computer.
Oh, well, well, if I'm replying something on my phone, I never write it out anymore. I dictate it. And I find that I'm about 90%, 95% accurate that way. Mm-hmm. And if I do fuck up, people who see your text go, hey, people fuck up when they're writing their text. Okay, you know, they just fill in whatever word they think you meant to put in there or something. Unless it's something, of course, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass with the Me Too people 10 years from now, but, you know.
I put in my signature on my phone. Please excuse any grammar or... Yeah. Been from my iPhone. Please excuse any grammar. It's hard to type at 55 miles an hour.
I swear to you, I didn't mean to say cunt. I meant to say count.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Bad choice.
So I got a thought today, and I told this to Marjorie, and I want to see what you think. You know, she watches MSNBC, which is brain rot. Okay. Would you agree with me, Charlie? I mean, they're really...
I can't watch MSNBC, no.
Yeah, and you'd like to because they have your opinion, right? They share your opinion. But you feel like they're tickling your balls while they're doing the news, you know? Yeah, well, I mean, normally if somebody were tickling my balls while they were doing the news, I would like it, especially if it were Kirsten Welker. Is she hot or what? Anyway, gee, I might get outed by the Me Too for that. Yeah, that'll ruin my career. Anyway, what career? Anyway, where was I? What direction was I going in? No idea.
Kristen Welker between the balls.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, MSNBC. So she watches MSNBC all the time, and the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and you know, it's all over. And what kind of times do we live in? And it is, you know, it's certainly. I don't disagree with her that things aren't good right now. But I'll tell you, when I go back to the 50s, when I was growing up, and they had the House Un-American Activities Subcommittee, and people were losing their jobs because of what political thoughts they had back in the 30s, that was pretty terrible. Wouldn't you agree that was pretty terrible in and of itself? It's not like we've gotten any better. It's just the nature of our evilness has changed. And so she watches this all the time, and she's got a completely warped sense of the world around her. And then the latest one is, well, you know, we're going to have the Republicans are going to take over after the elections, after the midterm elections. And I go, okay, yeah. Well, why is that? And they said, well, that's what everybody's saying. Well, that's what everybody on MSNBC is saying. And the reason they're saying it, and this is kind of fake news if you think about it, the reason they're doing it is they don't want their viewers to become complacent by saying, looks like we're a shoo-in. So what they're doing is they're giving the worst case scenario so that people will get out and vote, you know, Democratic. Quite frankly, I don't think it's going to be that bad. Do you think it's going to be that bad, Josh? You're the big political wonk here.
I don't think it's going to be as bad as maybe some people think, you know. Because, you know, I've been frustrated lately with, you know, it's like they talk about Senate races and they keep talking about, you know, the Democrats would need to win 2 or whatever. And then they always talk about, you know, Pennsylvania and Nevada and but I'm like, you know, there is a Senate race in Ohio. They never talk about that one. And the Democratic candidate here is, I don't want to say he's favored to win, but it's basically a tie. the Republican candidate is not a very good one. He's not very well liked, you know. So,
well, you want to talk about terrible Republican candidates?
I don't understand why they don't talk.
Come on, you know, Georgia's the perfect case.
Well,
Yeah.
Right.
Why is that even close?
Did anybody see Tucker Carlson, this clip of Tucker Carlson on his show, where he started railing by saying why people would want to vote for somebody who is intellectually barren or is a moron, essentially is what he was saying, like Walker? I mean, that he actually has come out against Walker, came out against Marjorie Taylor Greene, saying anybody who thinks this is a good idea, and then you wonder why people get mad at the Republican Party?
Yeah.
And I went,
well, I mean,
what's with Tucker? Has he suddenly found religion or something, or what?
Yeah, I don't. So that's what I'm saying is I don't think that I don't know if the Republicans will gain a majority because, I mean, none of us know that. I mean, we haven't had an election yet.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't see like overwhelming, absolute evidence that it's coming. I mean, there are some indications, but none of them are strong, and none of them. I mean, like I said, it's like they don't even calculate into any of this. You know, this race in Ohio.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't understand why. Because if Tim Ryan is elected, they flip. That's a flip. I mean, it's currently held by Rob Portman, and it would also give Ohio 2 Democratic senators for the first time in 30 years. So, like, why is that not a bigger deal? I mean, I don't know. I almost messaged, Patrick and Kevin the other day, like, I don't know, maybe a week ago, my stupid thing for this morning is I think Steve Bernanke is a fucking idiot. I get tired of him.
Steve Bernanke? Yeah.
Yes, because he talks, he talks about that same shit.
I wish for once he would just wear a...
Shut up.
If nothing more, to get our respect, wear a jacket. And don't wear khaki pants on television.
Pull down his sleeves.
Huh?
I mean,
Pull down his sleeves.
he'll go up there and talk for 20 minutes, and he never mentions this race right here. And like I said, I don't understand. I mean, the reason that it is because they're pushing something that they want for some reason. You know, I don't get
what
it.
they're pushing is they're trying to push all the ones which are causing a problem. Okay, that are really in contention. I mean, let's face it. Who is it in Ohio? Ryan and who else?
J.D. Vance.
Well, Tim Ryan is running against that J.D. Vance.
Yeah, J.D. Vance, who wrote Hillbilly Elegy.
Yeah, right. Because he came from the same home that all of us did here. So congratulations.
Yeah, right.
Fucking
right.
Shit,
I'm sorry, I'm not a fucking hillbilly. Go fuck yourself. I mean, I'm just not.
I mean,
okay. But anyway,
Middletown,
that's not as interesting as the moron down in Georgia going up against the preacher.
And like that one even bothers me because they go around making fun of, the Fetterman in Pennsylvania and how he talks a little bit, and I'm like, have you ever heard fucking Herschel Walsh?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, here's the thing that people don't understand in Georgia, okay, and that is that Fetterman, even after a stroke, okay, and with all his inabilities and his aphasia and all of that, is 10 times brighter and alert than Walker. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Herschel Walker can barely put like a couple of coherent sentences together where he doesn't sound like a stereotypical 1920s Southern black farmer.
The only two things
he spit tobacco at the end of every sentence.
The only two things that Herschel Walker can put together are abortions.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Yeah, but my point is but I haven't made fun of him for that, and Democrats haven't made fun of him for that. I mean, so that's what I mean. I see this stuff, where some of the Republican candidates are, making fun of Fetterman or whatever. I mean,
no, but it's a question of why, as bad off as Fetterman is, and he's not in great shape right now. I mean, he has aphasia, and we have a guy here who had aphasia, still has it slightly, right? But Jeff is not incapable of holding a discussion with us. People should not be affected by that. They should look at the fact that the opponent is more brain damaged from being hit too many times in the head on a football field.
Well, I mean, but he's asking to be U.S. senator, not a fucking hostage negotiator. I mean, what? What? You know what I'm saying? What's the deal? I mean, look, I know it. I mean, it is up to the voters, but I'm just saying, handicapped people of any sort can serve in the U.S. Senate. I mean, it's not. What's wrong with that? I mean, now if there's some voters.
Well, Herschel Walker is going up. We're mixing two different races here. Herschel Walker is going up against what's his name, the preacher.
Warnock.
Warnock, and what we've got down against what's his name is Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz. Going up against. I forgot his name again. No, the other guy. We were just talking about him.
Fetterman and Oz, yeah.
No, not Fetterman.
Warnock
Fetterman.
and Herschel.
Yeah, because somehow I got mixed up there when we were talking about Fetterman against Hiram. I keep saying Hiram Walker. I keep thinking of the whiskey. Herschel Walker against Herschel Walker, and really it's Mehmet Oz against Fetterman. Mehmet Oz. Man hasn't been living in New Jersey, and what has he done, that qualifies him to run for senator? What is it about him? The fact that he had a TV show and I'm going to vote for the guy who was on TV, and gave me bad medical advice. He was telling people to buy snake oil, The guy's just a snake oil salesman. But the fact that both of these are as close as they are and are in contention doesn't say a lot about us, does it?
Nope.
It doesn't say a lot about us as good. It says a lot about us as negative. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't have problems with people thinking certain things should disqualify someone from running because you're allowed to have those preferences as a voter.
Mm-hmm.
But opponents or opposition parties, they shouldn't try to exploit those things, so that's one part of it. But then, like you said, the fact that people are so hypocritical that they're willing to, I'm just serious. I don't know how any decently minded, true believer of a Christian in Georgia could vote for someone like Herschel Walker. I don't understand it. And I came up and was forced to have some education in a parochial school, Christian based. So I am familiar with the doctrine and the teachings. I'm not saying I don't practice it, but I'm saying I have a good understanding of it. And forget about being about being a religious person. How about just being a decent human being? Well, yeah.
It has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with religion. But here's a guy who is hypocritical. He says he's against abortion, and then he paid for 2 of them.
Yeah.
Oh well, I found God. Well, you don't use that as your excuse.
Well, but that's not even what he's saying. He's denying that he ever did that. I would have more respect for it if he came out and he said, you know what, I did do that. I had affairs and I got women pregnant and I pressured them to have an abortion and that was wrong and it was 20 years ago and I've since been reformed. I would have more respect for that, right? Than I would.
But you see, you're assuming there's a certain intelligence there. Okay, his best answer would have been, well, yes, I did get this woman to have an abortion, and she had one, but then later on she got pregnant again and she had the baby. So I had a change of heart. He could lie about that part of it. Okay. Yeah. But that would be the better answer. But he can't come up with those better answers because he hasn't got a brain to do it with.
Well, plus
he doesn't.
The other thing is he's got these people standing behind him telling him, say, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. You know,
Well,
he's
yeah.
got people standing behind him saying, lie through your fucking teeth.
I mean, first of all, he is too stupid to realize that he's being exploited and he's being used as their Negro just so they can send him to the U.S. Senate and be their Negro. I mean,
you see these guys standing behind him going, you know, okay, say this, say that.
You know, they probably could have gone out and found any one of a number of black candidates who are intelligent and good and Republicans, but they didn't want those because they can't control them.
Correct.
Okay, because they'll get in the Senate and they'll vote their own conscience, whatever their conscience is. Here, you've got a guy that is so malleable that you can get him to do anything you want him to do. You know,
that's exactly what I'm saying. Is that they've got him on a leash. They've got him and other people on a leash.
That's exactly why they chose him, and that's exactly why they have not abandoned him.
Yeah.
I mean, they're willing to put a morally.
Have you seen all these Republicans that come up, go to his rallies and stand by him? I mean,
Lindsey Graham is down there doing.
Did you see the look on Lindsey Graham's face though, while he was talking?
Yeah.
It was like, what's this guy saying? I don't understand a word he's saying.
Yeah, and then he turns around and backs him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I've always said, you know, don't ask me to respect some of these members of the opposition.
And by the way,
I mean, it's not personal, but I don't respect them. I don't.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time I looked, the job of senator isn't to run a ball 40 yards down a field and get a touchdown. I just don't think that's the qualities you need, you know. And by the way, he was a Heisman winner, 40 years ago?
Yeah, 1980.
Yeah. So, I mean, come on. Well, it's 42 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hadn't done shit since. I mean,
the only thing he's a Georgia hero. Okay? That's it. Plain and simple, you know. So I mean, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. But and the fact that Oz, I mean, come on, you know. Well, we were talking about this the other night, Jeff. You knew him, right?
And, oh, yeah.
And I worked with him at Sirius XM, and everybody thought he was a major asshole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I just think that what I hate about Republicans right now, and it's not Republicans, it is Republicans, because most of them are this way. Is they have all fallen into line, for instance, behind Trump, behind the theory that the election was stolen. I mean, what do they want to become? The party of complete, utter idiocy? Or as I like to think of it, the party of Phil? You know.
They want to win no matter what.
Yeah. But I mean, how bad do you want to win? Do you want to win at the expense of your own dignity?
Yeah.
You know? And I mean, I've always been a great purveyor of the two-party system. I like two parties when the two parties are really having an intelligent fight, okay? But it's not that anymore. It's not that way any longer. You know, we can't expect that if Joe Biden wants thus and thus, that any Republican's going to vote for it. What kind of? That's why nothing gets done. Let's get to something else here. This is the one that really.
Depressing.
Huh?
That's depressing.
Yeah. We have one person here from the Bay Area, and Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked in his home at 2:30 in the morning by a gentleman who's going, "Where's Nancy?"
Yep.
And then beat the hell out of him with a hammer. He wound up going into surgery for concussion and things like that, and a broken hand, and he's now out. He supposedly he's going to be fine. He's going to fully recover. He's 82, so I don't know how much you can recover at 82, but you know, I think that I know if I had Phil here, he'd go, well, you can't blame the Republicans for a guy who's nuts, you know.
Sure you can.
Yes, you can, because that guy's nuts enough to believe what the Republicans are saying. Because if anybody who tells me this is going to turn out any other way, that this guy had a hard-on for Nancy Pelosi because of, where she stood on the issues of the day, you'll really surprise me, And to say he wasn't egged on by Republicans, which I'm going to say, is to be naive.
Or the January 6th.
Well, January 6th is a result of the Republicans,
correct,
going along with a moron by the name of Donald Trump.
And literally chanting the same thing they were chanting that day.
Yeah. So here you've got a case of, and not even Nancy Pelosi, her husband, who's at home. And the reason why you say, well, why didn't they have security? No, because the only person that gets security is the senator or the congressman, not their spouses. So when she goes back to San Francisco, she's got security with her, and they watch them at the home. When she comes back to Washington, they leave, he's alone.
Yep.
Well, I think we're going to have to change that. All the families of all the people in Congress are going to have to have people watching them.
Nice job, Republicans.
Huh?
Nice job, Republicans. Cost us more money.
Well, they're going to be the first ones yelling that all of them should be getting 24-hour protection for their families. Mm-hmm. You know that, don't you?
Uh-huh.
And yet they caused this situation. I know,
Good
Phil. If you're listening, there. Phil, I know. Yeah, it's the guy who did it's fault. Sure. But sure, if I put a gun in somebody's hand and say, "Here, go shoot somebody," and then they take the gun out of my hand and put it in their hand and go shoot somebody, I'm not guilty too. Yeah. I mean, he was the end product of all that's been going on lately, and all this hate and all this division that's been created. And I'd like to say that, the Democrats are terrible too, but they're not. If anything, the Democrats let people roll over them. So, I mean, it's too much to believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's stupid. I mean, they led to this with their constant, warmongering type talk about eliminating their opposition. I mean, I heard a clip today of some guy, the governor of somewhere campaigning, saying, oh, of course this violence is bad, but we're going to send Nancy home to be with him, and then everybody, I mean, well, first of all, you're not, because, there's no chance that she's not getting reelected. Yeah. And second of all, why? But that's what I'm saying. Why do you have to say that?
Yeah.
Can you just stop with the violence? I mean, why do you have to?
She represents.
Tack on
she represents a congressional district that's in San Francisco.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, and there's no way she's not going to get reelected.
Yeah.
Well, let's.
Yeah. I mean, but why do you have to say something like that? I mean, why? I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't for law and order type people. I mean, it doesn't matter.
They aren't for law and order. They really aren't.
Right.
Look
what they had to do for the justices. I mean, they still got to have to protect them now.
Well, with the way they've been voting on stuff, I think they've been protected since Roe v. Wade. All of them, 24/7.
Still.
Yeah. But I mean, and let's face it, Nancy Pelosi, she's a congressperson. She's not even a senator. She wasn't appointed for 6 years. I mean, why go to their house looking to get Nancy when really she gets elected every 2 years? You can work on getting that not to happen.
Speaker of the House, and that's the names that they constantly banter about, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all that, It's just, I mean,
third line.
Her husband got a DUI and, he didn't get the same punishment or, I mean, whatever, I'm just saying, I mean, but, violence like that and this sort of mob mentality it can't happen. It cannot take the place of our regular system, or that's what you descend into. And that's what I've said a million times before is I understand that our country was sort of brought to fruition through a lot of, mob violence and these kinds of things. And then, like I said, immediately after we got there, those people put a system of government in place so that was never required ever again. They recognized that the path they took to get where they were was ugly at times, and said, we really should, not ever do this again. This stuff was unnecessary. Things got out of hand. So you dishonor the wishes and the memory of your founders when you think that the way in America to achieve your political gain or to make your political point is through violence. I mean, it's not American.
Yeah, let me get to another story that came out today. Is that Elon Musk has finally bought Twitter for $42 billion, pocket change. And again, Marjorie goes crazy. She goes, "Oh, he's going to let Trump back on," And I'm going, so, I mean, I don't think, from everything he's said, that I'm very worried about him running Twitter. All he said is that he feels that it should be a digital Hyde Park. It should be a digital town square, I think is the term he used. I used, Hyde Park because that's a square in London where people on Sunday can all get up on soapboxes and say anything they want to without fear of reproach. But he just wants it to be more democratic. He wants it to just be more freewheeling and open for people to have reasonable conversations. And that he feels, for instance, lifetime bans are wrong. He feels they're moral, is how he put it. So, yeah, Trump might get back on. What, are you all afraid of Trump saying stuff? What do you think about Musk and his democratization of Twitter, which he feels has, for a long time, really been heavily censoring people? Anybody have an opinion on that?
I don't know if they censored people that much. I don't know. Maybe they do. I mean, the only people that I think that have been censored are people that openly called for violence,
Yeah.
Like we saw today, for example. Despite the fact that his company has had some success, I don't find Musk to be a good person, a moral person. I think he's kind of a whine ass and an idiot, personally.
I take a slightly different approach to him. He's what a lot of people with a lot of money are, and that is you can't shut him up. They want to get in the public. He's addicted to the spotlight. There's no question about that, right? But the stuff he's done has inalterably changed and the world. We have electric cars now. Everybody's putting out electric cars, but why is that? It's because Musk had the vision and the guts to really go ahead full force with an electric automobile. When he first came out with Tesla, I think you all remember, people were deriding him, saying, "Oh, that'll never go. What, you're sticking a bunch of batteries together and you're going to make a car go?" That's what I was saying it too. But he made it work. And now every car company has it coming out. And you have states like California saying by 1935, we want to be all electric. That is something that will help to save the planet. All right? His space program. Unquestionably, in the future, we're going to look back on it and say, that was very important, because the dependency of life on Earth started, the ability to continue life here on Earth started with those programs, and not with NASA, because NASA just sent people up and then they did shipping and hauling for about 30 years. And he was the first one to come along and say, no, I'm going to put these things up there. I'm going to have a viable business doing it, hauling people up to the space station, but I'm also going to send the thing onto the moon, and I'm going to set up a colony on the moon. And this is a guy with great vision. And no matter how you feel about him personally, you know, do we ever really like the visionaries? I mean, we come to really get to find them disgusting after a while. You know,
I'm always interested by these people. I like to hear what they have to say and what they're going to do.
Well, I think Musk's
If
vision.
they do stuff that others won't.
Yeah. So I really like Musk on that level. I mean, I don't have to like him as a person. He's kind of creepy, really. Yeah. But nevertheless, that level of creepiness doesn't matter when it comes to, well, what has he done? Oh, well, he started everybody making electric cars. What? He started sending rockets to the moon. He's put up satellites with communications, literally ringing the Earth. And it's the only satellite coverage the Ukraine has right now. So, you know, when you put this guy down, you got to, you know, it's kind of, you got to take the good with the bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can if you want. I mean, why on earth our government would ever trust him with things like that, I don't understand. They should be taking care of those things.
Well, but the government doesn't have to trust him. The government doesn't have to trust him. He's a private company. He goes ahead and he's building these rockets. He's going to get to the moon, and he's going to do it for his company and also serving mankind at the same time. You can do both, you know.
Maybe. I mean, but they pay him for the use of technology that they need for things like satellites and for things like space, and they need to be taking care of that themselves, because what guarantee do they have that he won't secretly sell that same technology to the Chinese or the Russians?
Right.
For weaponization purposes. I
don't think that he would. I think he likes it being a wholly American activity.
I don't think he's an American patriot at all. I think he's he's no different than Trump. He's for himself.
That's not the way I think about him.
He wouldn't give a fucking nickel of his own to help this country. He will do it to enrich himself.
What'd you say, Kevin?
I think the same way of him. I think that if they gave him twice as much money for it, he'd take it.
Well, I think he would in a heartbeat.
Well, of course.
You know? Yeah, but then they're using it against.
But so would you, and so would I, and so would you. You know, any of us.
I wouldn't lift a fucking finger to help the Russians or the Chinese.
Yeah, exactly.
You're talking about the Russians, yeah.
Yeah, the technology.
Well, so far,
and it was either you keep it here or sell it to them for twice as much.
Yeah, but so far,
I wouldn't put it past them to sell it.
So far, there's no indication that that's on his agenda.
No, it's not now, but when the mighty dollar speaks, he swallows, you know?
I don't know. You know, one day I woke up and all of a sudden... I
would hope not.
One day I woke up and all of a sudden this guy was the richest man in the world. And I said, when did that happen?
Supposedly.
And you know what? You know how he got to be number one?
Yeah.
By not trying. By just doing stuff. And somehow the money started rolling in. He started a car company, and it's become one of the most successful car companies around.
The harder they grow, the harder they fall.
Well, you know, we'll see. You know, but all I'm saying is that when you get down to the Twitter thing, I don't think he, you know, so what if he lets Trump back on Twitter?
Yeah, personally, I think that's harmless, really.
It is harmless. Whatever. Exactly.
It's a fucking platform, and he can sit there and let people... You don't have to go there.
His attitude is also, why should we penalize Trump indefinitely?
Changing Twitter into another parlor or whatever it is.
Well, I don't think he's going to do that. I think what he wants to do, and I think that it's either going to make him money or it's not going to make him money, is that one of the plans he has is to change Twitter to a subscription service.
That's fine. I won't buy it.
Well,
I don't even use it
I
for
think
free.
I think if tomorrow Twitter went subscription, I don't think it would have the following it has now. It only has this following because it's free.
I don't use it and it's free. I got it on my phone and I look at it about once every 3 or 4 months.
I think I've tweeted maybe 3 times in my life.
Probably. Me too.
Pretty more than I have.
Yeah. I mean, Facebook I use, but I only use it because it's functional. You know, it serves my purpose of publicizing the show and, hey, there's no show tonight, you know, and things like that, and putting the posting the shows up there. But otherwise, I don't have any.
Spy on my kids.
What?
I can spy on my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I probably should use Twitter more. I mean, should post this show every night on Twitter. I think maybe it is. I have no idea. I'm posting in so many different places. I don't know how many are.
Yeah, it's probably there, huh?
It's probably there. I don't care, you know. But you know, I getting back to just the main thing we were talking about tonight. I've seen worse times in this country when it came to throwing the democracy aside. And the 50s were a good example of that. It was really terrible back then. Just go back and look at what went on then. Look at those House Un-American Activities subcommittees. Look at McCarthy. You know, I mean, just the McCarthy hearings were just appalling. So if you think the Republicans are bad now, boy, they were really shitting up a storm back then.
We hope that things are cyclical and we just get through it. That's the whole thing.
Well, you know, I think this is a little more permanent.
It's a different kind of cycle, I think.
Something like 40% of people, when posed the question, said they felt there might be another civil war eventually.
Yeah.
You know, that's how bad things are.
But it's possible with all these nutcases out here.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, you know, well, my feeling was where we made our big mistake is when they wanted to secede from the Union way back when, we should have let them. You know,
I don't think it'd be a full civil war, but I think it would be an uprising that would be knocked down.
Well, there is a thinking that some of those states may turn around and say we want to secede, and I think this time we should let them. You know, but I won't.
I don't know. It sure would be a mess.
All I know is, God, let's just get these midterms over with.
We're gonna get through the general too.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it's been really nice tonight. Thank you, Jeff, for being here. Thank you, Kevin, for being here. Josh, always a pleasure. And Charlie, this is like an intelligent panel. Okay, it kind of almost my dream panel. Anyway, everybody, just have a nice night, everybody, and let's wave goodbye. And I will wave goodbye at you. Okay, right. There they go, folks. There they go. That's our citizen panel for tonight, and they're gone. All right. I will be back here on Monday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for Alex Bennett's pop-up program. Bunch of nice people having nice talk, kind of like we had tonight, actually. And also, let's see here. We'll be here again on next Wednesday. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, Jack Bishop is next with The Intersection. Take care of yourself, everybody. And if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.